Call to order the Pampa City Commission meeting for October 28th, 2024. Thank you all for coming. So if you'd stand with me, let Pastor Hancock lead us in the invocation.
Would you bow your heads with me, please? Dear Heavenly Father, we gather here this afternoon, God, seeking your guidance and wisdom as we discuss matters important to our community. Just as Jesus prayed for unity among his followers, God, we just ask that you instill in us a spirit of togetherness. As we approach this election season, God, I just pray that you would help us to put aside our differences and come together as one, working towards the common good. May our discussions today be rooted in respect and compassion, allowing us to serve our city with integrity and grace. Guide our hearts and minds. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Please face the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please face the Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one indivisible. At this time, we have citizens signed up to speak. Brent Baton. If you'd state your name and your address, please.
Brent Baton, 8475 Rabbit Lane. Good afternoon. I'm here to speak on behalf of Pampa Fest Board and Directors. I've lived here in Pampa all my life and seen many events come and go, but Pampa Fest is growing each year, and we are looking to make it bigger and bigger and better. Pampa was a vision from a group of people that love our town and have lived here their entire lives. I've been volunteering for the last 4 years and decided to join the executive committee. Pampa Fest has had some changes in structure of its leadership, and now we are all eager to grow and improve. Pampa Fest has brought people from all over the United States, pre-sold tickets of 500 tickets to zip codes other than Pampa, including Colorado, North Carolina, and Arkansas. We have had numerous class reunions, save the date to be reunited with everyone during this weekend. We are a nonprofit organization that believes in giving back to the Pampa and the community. Our vision is to help beautification the projects, to have people from home to reunite. In 2024, we started giving out scholarships. We give two $1,000 scholarships to a male and female this year. We plan on moving forward. Across the area, we give out $500 to our fire departments, Stinnett, Border, Fritch, Pampa, Hoover, to help out. We donated $3,000 to the VFW. We give $5,000 to the high school booster clubs. Bruno Park maintenance and lighting. We did on our big projects, we did the mural that cost us $18,000. Downtown Christmas lights for the folks that didn't have some. They donated the Santa Claus house to the city this year. Last year we did 2 years ago, we did the Bruno Park renovations, cost us $15,000 in the maintenance fees yearly. The Capri sign, he had it set to Pampa, and we went in and helped reskin it to make it look better, make our downtown look prettier. The gazebo by the Snyder House, and some electrical upgrades to the downtown. Our community gains revenue over the weekend of the Pampa Fest with our hotels, restaurants, and just shopping in general at different businesses. Pampa Fest is good for this community and business because it brings people to Pampa. We have been told by our generous sponsors and almost all the downtown business and the community in general, they have for Pampa Fest to continue for years to come. We'd love to continue bringing new people to our community, specifically downtown, and reuniting those that have left. Not only we want to give back to our local organizations and beautify our town, we also want to bring in tax revenue to our community to support other improvements. Pampa Fest is good for Pampa and the community we live in. I want to thank you guys for your time and support. I'd like to thank Shane, Dustin, Troy, because they have helped us through some issues with our new structure. So I'd like to thank them personally. That is all I have. If y'all have any questions, and any of y'all are welcome, come to a board meeting to listen to our views where we're headed and trying to help out to keep Pampa Fest growing. Thank you.
You timed that perfect. Thank you. The next thing is Troy's going to have we'll recognize Troy for some emergency management coordination.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, if you don't mind, I'm going to jump in and I'll introduce Troy. I just kind of wanted to give you guys a little preface of what we're talking about here. Recently, Troy was requested to deploy to North Carolina for Hurricane Helene relief. And this is not, even though it says employee recognition, it's not looking for recognition. He's not looking for recognition, nor is the city of Pampa. But I wanted to give him an opportunity to kind of share with you guys his experience. And I'll tell you, from when he got notification or the request to deploy, timing was not great. We were locked and loaded. He was going to go to TML conference with most of the rest of us. He got the request. We discussed it. We prayed about it. He came to me the next day and basically said that he felt like he needed to go. And so go he did, and represented the city of Pampa well. He was deployed for 12 days. Again, it's not, he's not looking for a pat on the back, but you go, you deploy on something like this for the first time as an emergency management coordinator. He gets to go spend 12 days in the debris and the mud and the muck and sleep on bunk beds with people he doesn't know. And, that's not he's not playing a violin here, but that's the reality of it. And it takes the right person to be able to do something like that. I think we're blessed to have folks in the city of Pampa family that do that a lot more than people recognize or a lot more than people know. We've got a deputy chief right now, I think, that's in Perryton, Texas, acting as their command force administration while they bury their assistant chief. So things like that happen a lot of time. We don't go out on Facebook and try to get recognition from it, but I just wanted to give him an opportunity to share his experience with you guys. So with that, I'll turn it over to Troy.
Test, 1, 2. Okay, so yeah, I did get deployed. I had to drive 19 hours to get there. Spent 10 days in, I like to call it prison camp conditions. They have a base camp set up, and realistically, it's a trailer that you sleep in. Your bunk's on the bottom, and you have a guy right over you. So it was exhausting, but I learned more in 1,000 lifetimes about dealing with an emergency and actually sitting and going through it. And even at the end of the day, when I would get done working at 8 o'clock, I would sit and listen just so I could learn as much as I could possibly. And it was eye-opening. That place, especially where I'm at, up in Nashville, got absolutely destroyed. And if you look at the numbers when it comes down to it, it's this close to Katrina as far as damage does to a state. It literally changed the face of the earth up there. Just to give you a prime example, when I first got there, I was put in charge of the Operations Division of Search and Rescue. So I had 2 Carolina task force assigned to me, and all we were doing was looking for lost bodies. And kind of give you a glimpse of how deep the water was, I had to have the 101st Airborne's Drone Division fly the Nolagachi River and fly it at the 50-foot mark in the trees, looking for human remains. That's how deep the water was there. They say it was equivalent to taking Lake Tahoe and dumping it on them. That's how much water ran through there. So rivers run where they didn't used to. It physically altered the shape of the earth. But I spent a lot. We did pray about it, and I felt like I needed to go. Didn't know why, and I still don't know why I went, but they asked me to stay, and I was like, I think I'm good. I would have stayed if I felt my task was done there. So we decided to go home. So I'm going to show you a couple pictures, and we'll see if it kind of put it in context for you. So this is the prison camp, and I'm joking about that, but those are the trailers that you stay in. So there's one on each side. It's about a 4x7, and it got down to 30 degrees in the morning. So thank God my wife threw a coat in the car because I would have been in bad shape. Am I going the wrong way, Kev? There we go. Okay. It's hard to tell by looking at this, but there's trees in there that are over 3 foot around. That bridge you're looking at is 40 foot off the water. That is one of the first places that I started searching with Task Force 8. I had them in there, and it's hard to tell. This river, if you look on the top of that picture over there, the lady whose house got damaged this time, her mother's house got torn away in the early 1900s. So, and she'd lived in that house since then. So it's kind of hard to put in perspective, kind of see it from here, but that river went from here all the way to that tree line to that power plant up 40, 50 feet. There was that much water that went through. That is a track hoe making a road to get to the island that was created to search for a possible missing victim. It physically ripped the railroad tracks out of the ground and in most places spun them until it snapped the steel. This was most places. By the time I got there, there were 612 roads that were damaged partially or completely. There was, by the time I left, there were still 1,400 homes that did not have power still, and there was 2,200 homes that did not have sewer or water still. It's going to take them years upon years just to recover for it. But the actual roadways just to get in, there was so much lumber and trees from the tornadoes, the winds, and the stuff that they went to the exact edge of the road and cut and cleared. So you just had enough room to drive through to get your truck through there. And it'll take them years to come back and clean it up. These are just missing bridges, missing homes. Pretty much anything that was below the 50-foot level on the bank is gone. There are 430 homes, 123 of which are just gone now. 320 are damaged so bad they're not livable, but they're still living in those homes. The FEMA put up a $7 million shelter. In that shelter, the max, it had 19 people in it. Red Cross put up their big shelter. Max was 6 people in it. By the time I left, those shelters were empty. The biggest thing people wanted was generators and heaters, so we knew they were living in their houses still. And the mountain people, very resilient. This next is kind of just, this is the first 3 days that I got there because we had no-go zones that you couldn't go because people were hunting FEMA people. So that's the only reason I show this, because there was a hierarchy on the board of who ran the town and run the spot, and it really hurt that community because a select few didn't let aid get up there that fast. So that's the only reason I showed you. After they found out you were from Texas, they buy you dinner. We were like best friends. It was like, okay, you're my people. So it was crazy cool. This is a picture that they had on the front of that day. This is the town that we're in. So it was up to the second story, and this is obviously after the massive, big flood came through. This is just the residual waters. I was amazed that some structures were even still standing there. That's standing on that bridge looking down. Okay. This is Carolina's Task Force 8. I had a black cop drop them into an accessible area to search for a missing person. Basically, it's called a 24. You run a dog by it. If it sniffs, they mark it, and then another dog comes another day, and if he hits on that exact same spot, you start digging it, looking for that. When I left, we were still missing 2 people that we never, ever found. This is the 101st Airborne. They were tasked to me when I got done with the search operations. They were tasked to me. I was the liaisons between the county and them. I got to use them to help me finish out the donation operation and stuff. So it was a neat experience. This is the drone warfare unit. Really interesting stuff. So when we talk about the second disaster and any kind of disaster is donations. I've never seen so much stuff. What I'm showing you is Amazon warehouse that they had to rent. And this is just the extra stuff, because there's stuff on every corner, every church, every school they had packed. So that was kind of my job the last 5 days, to start collecting that stuff and get it to a place like this. They'll never, ever, ever use this stuff. There's so much of it. We're back to base camp, and that's it. But I want to tell you thank you. It was an invaluable experience. 1,000 lifetimes, I couldn't have learned what I learned on that trip as far as emergency management goes and dealing with a disaster. It just gave me 100 years of knowledge, but I appreciate it.
Thank you. They couldn't ask for a better guy for the job. Yeah. With that, Teresa has a report for us with the financial dashboard.
I don't really know how I can follow my dashboard up after that.
No.
I probably should have went first so you guys could be alert and ready for the next bit. Okay, so I believe, let me see. This first dashboard here, this is the second quarter, which is ending on June 2024. We just had not had a chance to get everything gathered for you guys. So I'm just going to quickly go through this, since we're also going to discuss the end of year 9/30 dashboard as well. So here on this first page, you'll see that these are our revenues for our general fund. Our general fund at this point was hitting right about target at 75.54% in reaching our revenue allocations. We still remained hopeful for a 3% increase of our sales tax, which would give us an additional $128,347 if that is the case. If that took a turn for the worse and we had to decrease it by 3%, we would see a decrease of the $128,347. On this next slide, these are our expenditures for the general fund as well. So in this, we are right about 73% of our expenditures, so we're still on target for that. We had about $12 million, almost $13 million in our estimated $17.7 million expended. When you look at it all together, you can see here that our revenues were about $93,773 over our expenditures to date as of June 30th. Right there at that point, we're at about 24.7% of fund balance, which we're projecting 23.4%. Again, remember, this was early on, so this was June 30th, and we still had not had all of our allocations for expenditures at that time. Here in our water and wastewater fund, these were a little less than the 75% that we saw closer to in the general fund, but our revenues were coming in at about 71%, which is common because in our enterprise funds, remember, we are about a month to two months behind in our revenues for our billings.
And revenues in the water fund are always pick up the last quarter of the year, because that's when everyone's watering, mostly in the summer.
Yes. And so then again, here on your expenditures, we've spent about $9 million in our expenditures. A lot of this is our capital funds, our POs being issued, things of that sort. So they had not fully been expended, but they are allocated to that project. At this point, we had spent about $643,252 in restricted funds at this point in June. We go on to our solid waste fund. On our solid waste fund, on these numbers here, it was looking at, we were at about $2.7 million, which that large portion of it is from the restricted funds that we had left over for the compactor, the purchase of the compactor, which was $1.2 million. So that's where that big increase over what we budgeted was for. We will have an amendment for that in the next few weeks to true up our budget. On our expenditures here, you can see that we were about 89%. Again, those are because of the large capital projects that we've purchased, the compactor being the largest one. Okay. Any questions on the second quarter dashboard? Okay. Dax, if you don't mind, we can go ahead and switch to the next one. Oh, you already have. Okay, this gets into our the end of September. As of right now, we have allocated 30 days worth of our expenditures to this as well. We have 30 more days that we will be still accruing expenditures into the 23-24 year. This is just for audit purposes. We leave about 60 days open for us to continue to make charges to the 930 accounts. So this is a continuously changing number. It's probably changed since I've put these numbers into this spreadsheet. But just remember, we have 30 more days. We're trying to get all of the departments to turn in all of their invoices and make sure that they can wrap up any projects that they have. So as of right now, these are our numbers. We will not have final numbers for these until February or March. And so we'll do another presentation for that once we get our audit confirmed. But right now, we're looking at for our general fund. Our revenues, we're projecting for them to be about a 1.5% overage compared to what we originally budgeted. I will say that these numbers also reflect what we're estimating the accruals to be for our sales tax and and our franchise fees, things of that sort. We should be getting some of those numbers for our franchise fees within the next 30 days so that we can accrue those into that. But there are placeholders for this. So as of right now, we're about 1.5% over what we originally adopted. Let me go back real quick. This is also, I've only increased our sales tax to 2% over what we originally estimated. So it'll increase our sales tax $85,565. And then I dropped it 4% on our sales tax. So if we take a turn for the worse in the next 2 months, it'll drop at $171,000. We're hopeful that that's not the case. Okay, when we look at our general fund expenditures, this number here, just on our projections that we have as of right now, we've expensed about 97.6% of our general fund expenditures compared to what we budgeted. Some of these numbers are just due to projects not being coming in under what we originally estimated. They could be that capital projects were not able to be completed because of the delivery of equipment, things of that sort. So those numbers will change. And again, we're constantly having invoices from different projects as they're cleaning up things and clearing out their projects. So this number will change. But right now, we're at about 97.6%. Then you go into our general fund summary. You can see this all together. Our revenues are about 1.4% over what we originally adopted, and then 97.6 under what we had adopted. With these numbers, if they were to stand still as of now, and this is how we ended, we would be able to increase our fund balance by $16,187, which would give us about a 23.4% increase in or 23.4% fund balance, not an increase. I will also note that as of today, as of right now, on the use of replacement funds, we budgeted to use $790,574 in replacement funds. As of now, we've only used $399,228. So we will, as those projects continue, we will increase that and include it into an amendment as we go into next year. Okay. On our water and wastewater fund, these numbers are looking a lot better than what they were back in June. Again, these are 2 months worth of accruals for our water and our fees and things of that sort. So we're at about 3.9% increase in our revenues. We're sitting at about 89% of expenditures. This number is going to change because we do not have all of the wastewater treatment plant projects closed out. We have lots of large capital projects that still have not been we have not received the final invoices for the 9/30 date. So that number we'll get closer to the 96 mark on that. As of right now, we're showing that we are over our revenues by $632,006. Of that $632,000, we will be using restricted funds of $1.1 million. So we will be able to put back into those reserves. But again, the capital funds are the capital projects will lower that number. On our solid waste fund, our total revenues, that 170.57%, it's alarming when you first see it. It's mainly because of our actual is $3.4 million compared to the 2 million that we adopted. That large increase is coming from the compactor. We've already moved, at this point, we made the journal entry to accrue this $1.2 million worth of restricted funds because we had already expensed the compactor at this point. We've received it, they're using it. This money has been transferred into the account, into the revenues. So once we finalize our budget, our actual adopted budget will be the 3.4 million instead of the 2 million we originally proposed. In here, we'll show that we'll have about 162,000 over our revenues to put into our capital funds. Any question? Okay, thank you.
With that, we'll get into our regular agenda items. Consider approving the minutes of the September 23rd, 24 regular commission meeting.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of the September 23rd, 2024 regular commission meeting.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Does anybody have any additions or corrections? With that, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. And that motion passes. Agenda item 2, consider approving the list of disbursements dated September 2024.
I make a motion to approve the list of disbursements dated September 2024 as presented.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second. Does anybody have any questions or comments?
Nope.
No, sir.
With that, I'll have, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. That motion passes. Agenda item 3, resolution R240212, notice of intention to issue certificates of obligation. Consider adopting resolution number R24-012, authorizing and approving publications of notice intention to issue certificates of obligation complying with the requirements contained in Securities and Exchange Commission Rule 15C2-12 and providing an effective date. That resolution, R24-012, reads, a resolution by the City Commission of the City of Pampa, Texas, authorizing and approving publication of notice of intention to issue certificates of obligation complying with the requirements contained in Securities and Exchange Commission Rule 15C2-12 and providing an effective date.
I make a motion to adopt resolution number R24-012 as notice of intention to issue certificates of obligation.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Teresa, do you have anything to add on that?
If you guys have any questions, Ryan Cunningham is here with Samco, and he is more than happy to answer any questions that you have. This is really the beginning step that we need to take in order to begin the process of our debt issuance. But
I'm glad to answer any questions, go over a timetable, but nothing further out if you don't have any questions.
Now, why don't you run through the timetable real quick?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks, sir.
Thanks.
Thank you for having me. Ryan Cunningham, Samco Capital Markets, financial advisor to the city. So what you have in front of you is the timetable for issuing certificates of obligation. Now, in the past, when you've sold debt, we've been able to place it with banks. They've had an appetite for it, some shorter maturities, but now the market is a bit different. So this is the time you're going to be going out into the public market, getting a rating, and selling it at a competitive sale in January, where bidders will bid and the lowest interest rate will be awarded to that winning bidder. So what you have in front is the first step. Tonight, if going ahead and authorizing the notice of intention resolution, it will go in the city's legal newspaper 2 weeks in a row, as well as on the city's website. What it does is it informs your voters that at the January 13, 2025 meeting is your intention to issue the certificates in amount not to exceed $4 million for the various projects that are listed there, streets, different park improvements, et cetera. So it's their right to be informed that the action that is going forward. And so this is just the first step of that, of a few more steps that will take place, with the culmination being selling the obligations in January and then funds in your account February 12th, 2025. So I'm glad to get into any questions you have about the timetable or the bond markets right now, if you have any questions.
I don't believe I have any.
I'll say that the calendar lines up really good with majority of our intent with this money. This debt issuance is street work, and that's stuff that really can't be done until, spring or later anyway. So it's not gonna affect us to having to wait until February to get the money for it. So,
And just to remember, this is already in our current budget, and so a lot of these projects we've already budgeted for, it's already within our tax rate. There's not gonna be an increase in that for this.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you for having me.
With that, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. And that motion passes. Agenda item 4, resolution number R24-013, interlocal agreement with PRPC. Consider, discuss, and take appropriate action on resolution number R24-013, entering into an interlocal agreement with Panhandle Regional Planning Commission for application, preparation, and grant administration, if funded, for the TXCDBG Community Development Fund 2025-2026 cycle.
I make a motion to adopt resolution number R24-013 as presented.
I will second.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments? I guess,
Paige is here, yeah. If you guys have any questions, or Paige, you wanna kind of give them an overview?
Okay, well, thank you for having me this afternoon. The 2025-2026 cycle of the Community Development Block Grant, Community Development Fund is starting. This is a fund that opens every 2 years, and communities throughout the Panhandle have traditionally used it for water or wastewater infrastructure. Other types of improvements are eligible, but that has been what has traditionally scored the highest in our region. This cycle, the grant is going up. In the past, it's been at $350,000 or $500,000. It's going up to a $750,000 grant. The next, so for this 2025-2026 cycle, our regional allocation will stay pretty consistent. It's been about $1.9 million annually. So we are expecting for the grant to be a little bit more competitive, since around 3 projects in the region are going to be funded in each of these next 2 years. So they're changing the process a little bit. There will be a phase 1 and a phase 2. So in phase 1, a community essentially just adopts a resolution saying we're wanting to apply this cycle. These are the potential projects we're interested in. And TDA will then look at the scores for all the communities in the region. Based on who scores the highest in phase 1, they'll invite those communities for a phase 2 application. So the top communities in phase 2 will be invited early next year. The next communities in line, then about a year from then, will be invited for that 2026. So the phase 1 is still going to be every 2 years, but they're going to pick up on that list in early 2026 for the next communities in line. So I'm happy to answer any questions. A couple years ago, the city of Pampa did a community development fund project on Faulkner, and so this has been a fund that's been utilized by the city pretty recently. And PRPC assists with application development at no cost to the city of Pampa. And then if you're funded, this interlocal will allow us to enter into an amendment to provide the grant administration services.
thank you. Does anybody have any questions or comments? Thank you, Paige.
Thank you.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. And that motion passes. Agenda item 5, resolution number R24-014, PEDC electronic sign project. consider approving on first reading resolution number R-24-014, approving a project of the Pampa Economic Division Corporation to assist the city of Pampa in purchasing an electronic sign. That resolution reads, resolution number R-24-014, resolution of the City Commission of the City of Pampa, Texas, approving a project of the Pampa Economic Development Corporation, providing a severability clause, a savings clause, and an effective date.
I make a motion to approve on first reading resolution number R-24-12 as presented.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. I think Ryan's gonna, do you have anything to comment on that?
Any questions? I don't mind giving up. I got this one and the next one too. Yes, I'm Ryan Bradley. I'm the director of the EDC, and this project is specifically for the Hobart Street sign. As y'all are aware of what it is, we've all seen it. It's been a piece of our community for a long time, and it's been needing some upgrade and some help. And the city reached out to us, and our board unanimously voted to support this project. It is something that our community needs. If there's any questions about it, let me know. If not, I'll go sit down and come back up for the next one.
I would just remind the commission that when we approached the EDC this time about this sign, we had a budgetary estimate at the time of around $190,000. It's going to be quite an improvement to the sign that we have had there. Technology has come a long way since we bought that sign. But the intent this time would be to replace the sign with new technology and then turn over the operations of this sign over to the Chamber of Commerce for operations that they can use to promote Pampa. Obviously, it will still promote MK Brown would be the priority for anything going on at MK Brown would have priority on the sign. And I've already talked to Courtney at the Chamber. I don't see her here today, but they're certainly willing to do that and appreciate the opportunity to be able to utilize that sign too. So it'll be a win-win-win, I think.
That sounds good.
Does it change the dimensions? Is it
Yes,
bigger?
it'll be larger. It'll be 10 by 17 and double-sided.
Okay. All right.
So.
One thing we've learned when we started talking about replacing it, Dustin was kind of telling me that it's very difficult to program that sign now because it's not in the right resolution, or that's not the right word. What is the
Form factor.
Yeah, it needs to be more rectangle for people to create these signs. Their software is made for rectangle signs, and so it's been a challenge to try to make that fit a square sign that we've had. So it's going to definitely be an upgrade, technology and the ability to put messages on it.
Sounds good.
See anybody else have any questions or comments?
No, sir.
With that, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. And that motion passes. Agenda item 6, resolution number R-24-015, PEDC project with S-Brand Communications. Consider approving on first reading resolution number R-24-015, approving an economic development project between the Pampa Economic Development Corporation and S-Brand Communications. That resolution reads number R-24-015, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Pampa, Texas, approving a project of the Pampa Economic Development Corporation, providing a severability clause, a savings clause, and an effective date.
I'll make a motion to approve on first reading resolution number R-24-015 as presented.
I'll second.
And Ryan, I believe you back again.
Okay, so this is the second project that we were gonna present today. This is for KGRO, KOMX. Being from here, that is a core part of, growing up, and it is something that our community needs. In recent time, it was recently acquired, and what this money is set aside for, it is a loan to do debt consolidation and get it back to what it needs to be, plus some. So after this, after these funds are provided and after all this structure is put in place, their range will be greater, they'll have higher quality, it'll be better for our community than it's ever been. So this is another one that the board unanimously voted for. It is something that we all feel is necessary for our community. So, any questions?
I think radio's been needed upgraded for a while.
Yeah,
For
I
sure.
agree. Okay.
Thank you, Ryan. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. And that motion carries. Agenda item 7, an AMI agreement with Census USA Incorporated. Consider authorizing the city manager to enter into a software as a service and spectrum lease agreement with Census USA Incorporated for advanced metering infrastructure services.
Make a motion to authorize the city manager to enter into the agreement with Census USA Incorporated as presented.
I second.
Teresa, I guess your name's on this.
Oh, well, yes. So what you see here in this agreement, this was something that we've already had standing with the city of Pampa with an agreement with Western Industrial. Western Industrial was recently purchased by Census, and that name sounds familiar to you guys, I'm sure, because they also are the ones that make our utility meters. And so we have a census project that we will be continuing to close out this year. This project is going to help with the maintenance of those meters, and we have an agreement with them that as our meters are faulty or may not work or needs to be replaced or have any maintenance, they send those meters into Census and they will repair them and replace them at no additional cost other than our annual fee that we pay. This also will take care of our utility meter reading software that they have to use, any technical software questions that they may have or upgrades, things of that sort. So this is an all-in-one Encompass. It's just really a formality to get everything switched over from Western Industrial to Census.
Yeah, we've been acting under this agreement all along. It was just with Western, and now it needs to be changed and amended to Census.
Okay, thank you, Teresa. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. That motion passes. Agenda item number 8, Railroad Commission lease renewal. Consider authorizing the city manager to enter into a lease renewal with tenant improvements amendment with the Railroad Commission of Texas.
Make a motion to authorize the city manager to enter into the lease renewal amendment with the Railroad Commission of Texas as presented.
I second.
Shane?
I will take this on. We do every 5 years. We've been doing renewals with the Railroad Commission for lease space in this building. Obviously, that third of the third floor. It's about 3,400 square feet that they lease from us. They do it early. If you'll notice, this doesn't even start until January 1 of 2026. But they're usually trying, at least a year out, trying to get the lease in place for the next 5 years, which is what they've done here. You see it's a pretty substantial increase on the per square foot rate. That's because we've been so behind on the square foot rate forever with them. So the last couple of renewals, they are aware that we're trying to get them caught up to more of a market rate for lease office lease space. It does have a 3% annual escalation on the 5 years. They did request with this new agreement that we replace, I think, 4 locks on the facility, one at their main door, one at the back, and then one on each side doors. We'll probably go ahead and do that once we get this approved and in place. We'll go ahead and replace those locks for them and get that out of the way. And then this will begin in January of next year, unless you guys have any objection to it.
Any questions, comments?
No.
Thank you, Shane. With that, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. That motion passes. This concludes the city commission meeting. Thank you all for coming.